Well, Shabbat Shalom. It's already laughing at me. I have a new chavruta. You know, chavruta. A chavruta is what you might call a study partner in the yeshiva world, in the world of kind of Jewish text study. You pore over a text together, you translate it, interpret it together. I had the same chavruta for almost all of rabbinical school. For example, we studied Talmud together for years. We still do when we can. But this is a first for me. My new chavruta is younger than me, like a lot younger than me. She's 8 years old. Ours is admittedly formally a student-teacher relationship, but it's the only weekly text study I get now, so, it counts. But truth be told, I love teaching kids. It's fun because you don't just teach, you learn. So really, I love learning with kids. Things that seem so basic to adults are brand new to them. Their eyes are big. They ask the best questions, hands down, bar none. The best questions I've gotten in my entire career of teaching has been from children. Their brains just aren't cluttered with all the preconceptions that we get as adults. We really rack them up. All the pretensions they have about themselves or the world, they just don't have them. All they see is expansiveness in front of them. We lose that as we get older, and it gets harder to see the world like that. The older you get, the more life you live, the more disappointments and challenges you've had to encounter and deal with. Along the way, it just gets harder to see the world as children do. And I miss that. A few weeks ago, when I was learning with her, my chavruta, I opened up a Tanakh, a Bible, and I asked her, where in here does it say why we celebrate Passover? She's a smart kid. She didn't even have to open it. She said, it's in the Torah. It's in the book of Exodus. I'm like, it's true. Passover story is in Exodus. And I asked her, where in here does it say why we celebrate Purim? She had to think a little harder about that one. She opened it up and flipped around all the way, flip, to the back. She said, Esther. I'm like, yeah, that's right, the book of Esther. It's not in the Torah, but it's in the Tanakh, it's in the Bible. And it has the story of Purim. And I asked her, where in here does it say why we celebrate Hanukkah? She thought about it, opened the flip. And she thought about it some more, and she just kind of looked at me like, and I said, you got me, it's a trick question. I'm not the nicest teacher. I said, it's not in the Torah. Story of Hanukkah, not in the Torah. Not in the Tanakh, it's not in the Bible at all. Now, there is a book of Maccabees, there's 2, it's not in our Bible, it's a long story. In our earliest teachings on Hanukkah, they come from our ancient rabbis, so like about 2,000 years ago. And they ask, why Hanukkah? Why do we do Hanukkah? And our rabbis say simply, well, the Greeks, they occupied our land, they entered our temple, they defiled the oil. The oil. They used the lamp that always stood there, we used to use that oil to light the lamp. They defiled the oil. And when the Jews retook the temple and purified it, they found, disaster. I think you all know where this goes. They found only a small cruse of oil from which to light the menorah. Lo haya bo el yom echad, enough oil for only one day. See, it's like you know all this. You're very smart Jews. But then, what happened? Naaseh bo nes. A miracle occurred. V'hidliku, and they lit it. Mimena shmona yamim, and from it 8 days the oil lasted. And every year after that, the rabbis teach, all of those days became fixed as a holiday. We teach that Hanukkah is a holiday celebrating the miracle of the oil, right? Everyone hears the miracle of the oil, the miracle of the oil. The oil lasted for 8 days. It was only enough for one. The oil. The miracle is the oil. Or is it? So often, I am the teacher, and not often enough I get to be the student. But I learned a completely different way to think about this whole oil thing from Rabbi David Hartman, who is probably the single most impact on religious pluralistic learning is this man. He asked a question that never occurred to me before, never. Why do we celebrate 8 days instead of 7? Why 8 days instead of 7? There was enough oil for 1 day, he points out. Only 7 days worth of miracle, right? So if the oil lasting 7 days longer than expected was the miracle that we're celebrating, shouldn't we celebrate Hanukkah for 7 days? He says, the miracle was not the length of time the menorah stayed lit. He says the miracle is that it was lit at all. It would have taken more than 1 day to rededicate the temple, and they knew that. There was no reason to assume the lamp would stay lit long enough for them to finish the whole process, certainly no longer than 1 day. It's a miracle, Rabbi Hartman says, that anyone would bother to light that oil at all. The Hasmoneans, Maccabees, we know this in Judah Maccabee, who fought the Greeks, retook our temple and our land, cleaned and purified our most holy space. They didn't know the oil was going to last long enough. Who could know such a thing? But that wasn't the point. They didn't light it because they knew it would last. They didn't light it knowing with certainty that everything would go exactly how they wanted, exactly how they needed it to go. They lit it, and it was a miracle because they believed that any small amount of effort, even the smallest steps, were important to take because it meant that they believed in the potential for what could be. As Jews, more than accomplishment, we celebrate potential. Not the road traversed, but the one stretched out ahead of us. We celebrate Bat and Bar Mitzvah not because of all the Torah you learned, that's great, but that's not why we celebrate. We celebrate because of the adults that you are becoming. We celebrate the new moon, and with it the new month. When there's no moon in the sky, we know it's there. We're going to bless it. We're going to celebrate. We're going to mark. We know it's just not visible yet. What could be? The miracle of Hanukkah is the first day as much or more so than the following 7 because that's our way of saying we don't know how the future unfolds. We don't know if our plans will pan out or not, but we're willing to take even the smallest steps in that direction because small steps are better and more than none. And our belief in the potential of what could be is greater than our uncertainty. Kids are really good at this. They see the world as a big place full of potential. And rather than be intimidated by that, they revel in it. Do you ever watch a kid jump off of the couch and not know how far it is down? They want to take all the chances, have all the experiences, dream their dreams, think about the ideas because the world is big and bright and beautiful. A miracle. Any step a kid takes is by definition a small one because they're small people. But that means that any accomplishment of theirs is Herculean. And still they take those little steps. It's astounding. It's when we get older, I think, that taking even small steps becomes overwhelming. We become paralyzed by routine, maybe, complacent. And we're tired for admittedly good reasons because we've lived life. We've done a lot. We know it takes a lot of hard doing to get anything done. So it's understandable we don't want all the fuss and the headache of new goals and dreams and hopes and experiences and skills and passions. Because what we know that children don't yet is that life is very hard. And potential does not always pan out. And sometimes your efforts are wasted. Which is why Hanukkah is such a great and important reminder for us adults to think about the world as children do. A big place full of possibilities, full of potential for dreams and ideas and experiences that can bring joy to our lives and good to others. And it's okay to be tired. It's okay to be reticent, to make moves, to dream dreams, to take even the smallest steps towards making those dreams reality. But the miracle of Hanukkah is to let yourself see potential, all the potential around you, and think to yourself, what is it I want? Who do I want to be? What is it that the world needs from me? And then to take even just the smallest steps to make that happen. I wish you an early, happy Hanukkah of so much light and love, of deciding what small steps you're going to take to bring about a miracle in your own life. Shabbat Shalom.